Okay, so today's video is going to be on the Hornady cam lock bullet puller. If you can't tell from the cryptic name, this is a device used for pulling bullets. Today's video was not supposed to be about the Hornady cam lock bullet puller. Today's video was supposed to be a 308 video. I made a big mistake. I've got 50 rounds of freshly loaded 308. Oh, baby. Ready for the range. So in 308, I've got a Tikka bolt action rifle and a Savage lever action rifle. I have 25 pieces of brass for the Tikka and 25 pieces of brass for the Savage. For this last video, I took them out to wet tumble them, and the fired cases have different enough dimensions so that I was able to keep track of the two groups. The problem is, once I had the two groups identified, I loaded them for the wrong gun. So I've got a bunch of Tikka ammo loaded in the Savage brass and Savage ammo loaded in Tikka brass. Not gonna work, man. And to make matters worse, I was shooting different powders in the two guns. So these are just completely different loads for the two different guns. I've got them completely reversed, so I need to pull all 50 of these bullets. And this is a significant amount of money here. These are nice 150 grain Sierra Game Kings. We've got Vitavori and Winchester powders in here that we want to try to collect as we pull the bullets. So that's what led us here to today's video with the Hornady cam lock bullet puller. I've had this guy a while, and I've been meaning to make a video, so this seems like a good opportunity. The problem, and the reason why I haven't made a video on it yet, is I've had some problems with it. I've found it to be a pain in the butt to use. But I figured this should be the easiest task possible for this device. We've got bullets with plenty of surface to grab and pull the bullet out with. They're not crimped. So this should be, if it's going to work on anything, it should work just fine on these. So I guess let me go over the basic operation of this guy. You know what, let's go uppy closey. So this unit is kind of a multi-piece thing. You've got your main cam lock bullet puller unit. This is about 25 bucks. I'll have links down in the description. I'll see if I can find the best price. I think it's like 22, 23 bucks on Amazon. This unit by itself is useless. You also need to buy the appropriate collet. Here's a 22 caliber collet. Today we are looking at the, see, this is a 358 collet. And this is the one we're going to use today, the 308/312 collet. So this is the heart of the operation. Our bullet's going to go in here. The collet is going to squeeze down on the bullet and it's going to pull it out. So to accomplish that, we take this guy apart. There are the pieces, and our collet goes in right there. So it just drops down in, stem goes in, and we put it back together. Now, what you got here in this handle, this is kind of the loose position, straight up, and you can go either direction downward to make it close the collet. Either direction works. So if we look at it from the collet side of things, there we're closing. Put this down in there just a little bit farther. Closing, opening. Pretty straightforward. Now, so clearly, like I mentioned, this is the perfect scenario for this. We've got a bullet with plenty to grab onto, and it's just going to go up in there. Yeah, a little too tight here. Bullet goes up in, handle gets closed, brass gets pulled down in the press. Pretty simple. So, of course, this isn't going to work on bullet designs that don't have much to grab onto. I think the website actually says they're for rifle only. I have used the number 9 collet to pull some 357 Magnums, and they worked fine. But it was an XTP hollow point that had a little bit of a flat spot there where the collet could get a hold of it. Very rounded bullets. I don't know, imagine a 45 ACP or something. There's just nothing to grab onto. Lead bullets are soft. It'll pull them, but it's probably going to damage them. Copper jacketed bullets, it's supposed to get them out there without damaging it. So yeah, here's the problem I've had, basically, is just getting it set properly so that it pulls without damaging the bullet. That's one problem I've had, is scarring up the bullets. The other I've had is taking the ram too high and actually getting the tip of your brass, like the case mouth, pinched by the collets. I can't afford to do that this time. This is our nice 308 Starline brass that we've got a bit of a long-term review going on with. So I definitely don't want to jack up the brass. I want to salvage the bullets. So I'm hoping maybe if I turn the video on, I'll read the instructions a little closer and this guy will work like it's supposed to. All right, so we do get a nice set of instructions here. So let's try and set this thing up by the book. So I've got a Reading #1 shell holder in there, which is for our 308. So that's ready to go. So we've already inserted our 30 caliber collet. So it says to install the unit in the press. It doesn't give any guidance about height because it doesn't matter. If we throw our big old 308 in here and raise the ram, that's how high the bullet is. So we're never going to be able to raise our ram completely anyway. We're going to be working with short strokes, which I think is part of my problem with this unit and why I was scarring up that brass. I just wasn't getting my case height the same every time whenever I went to lock it over. So, all right, this guy goes in the press. Okay, that guy's in there. This is completely loosened. So let's bring our turret around to the proper position. So it says, raise the ram until the bullet enters the collet just short of the cartridge case neck. There it is. So right there, the brass is just short of the collet. We'll go back over this. I'll get us a nice lower angle, and we'll run through this one more time here in just a second. It says, lower the cam lock handle and rotate the cam lock assembly until the collet contacts the bullet. Actually, it's probably already going to contact the bullet. Maybe I didn't loosen it enough. Yeah, see, I'm already too far. So let me slowly back this out. So with the handle down, we screw it down until we feel it touch the bullet. There it is right there. Yeah, I need to drop the ram just a smidgen to clear that brass. I don't want to scar up the neck of my brass. All right, there we are. There, it's just touching the bullet. They say to raise the cam lock handle and turn the assembly another quarter turn. So there we are. That's a quarter turn. And I think we lock this down. There we go. And now we're ready to rock. It says lower the handle to clamp the collet on the bullet. Using the handle of the press, lower the ram. So, okay, going to close that guy. It's a pretty hard. Ew, God, that's too hard. That's too much. But it's got a hold of it, I think. So let me see if I can drop the ram. There it is. Sweet. We've got a case with no bullet. And I've got some Vitavori N140 that I need to grab. I need a bowl. Okay, I've got a bowl. And zoomed in a little bit there better on our mechanism. So then it says, remove the cartridge case from the shell holder, which we already did. Raise the cam lock handle to drop the bullet. So if we raise this, out dropped our bullet. Holy crap, I don't see anything. That looks outstanding. However, I wasn't able to cam this over all the way, so I'm going to loosen it up just about a 32nd of a turn. Let's try another one and see if we get the same result. I'm ducking over and really eyeballing the height of our brass here. There we go. That's about the perfect height. Cam that dude over. Still pretty darn tight. Still feels uncomfortably tight. Let me drop the ram. Fantastic. Dump out the powder. Drop the bullet. This thing also looks absolutely flawless. See, all I really needed to do was just sit down and go through the directions carefully. Yeah, third bullet in a row, looking fantastic. Beautiful. So tell you what, let me reposition the camera and we'll get a better look at those last couple steps in the setup process. All right, there's a different angle. This guy is completely loose now. All right, so I've dropped our little cam lever, and now I'm screwing it down. It says to screw it down until it touches the bullet. There we go. We're getting close, so you see it moving there. There it is. That right there is right about where it feels like it's touching. Just want to make sure. Got a little bit of space there. Yep, that's where it feels like it's touching. So if I raise the cam lever on top, see it open and close. So now what I'm supposed to do is raise the cam lever. I'm going to go in, well, before last time we went in an additional quarter turn. This time I'm going to go in a little bit less than that. And now we should be good. So now whenever I drop the cam lever, yeah, now it's feeling a little bit better this time. Drop the ram. There it went. It does take a little bit of force to get it out of there, no doubt about it, but it's not bad. Raise the lever to drop the bullet. And looking perfect. Next case. Get the height correct. Yep. Pinch it. That's it right there. That downward movement of the collet is what I was screwing up before. I was bringing it up until I felt like you can actually, the brass will bottom out on the collet. But if you do that and then pinch, you either have to, like there you saw it actually pushed the ram down a little bit as it went. You may need to make sure that's happening. Pinching is bad. So setup certainly wasn't involved or difficult, but this just still feels like the sort of thing that I probably wouldn't pull out if I just needed to pull a single bullet. You know, I'm more likely to pull out my kinetic bullet puller and do a little hammering. There's the first one where I didn't quite lock the handle down far enough. So I kind of boogered this bolt up a little bit. Just some, you can see where the collet scraped along the sides there. I don't think it's damaged. I think they're just superficial scuff marks. But I was getting a little bit lazy. I was trying to kind of, you know, minimize the movements here. And that means when I release the bullet, just leaving the handle about right there where it fell instead of going all the way up with it. And the other thing I'm finding is doing that, leaving it kind of halfway down, the collet is closed enough to where now whenever I raise that, the brass bottoms out, but all of that movement we saw a few minutes ago is already taken up. So there we go. And then just drop it down a little bit more and pull your bullet. So now that we are professionals at basic operation of the Hornady Camlock bullet puller in an ideal situation, let me get the rest of these pulled, and then I'll pull out some 223 brass or something, and let's crimp the crap out of some bullets and see if we can pull them with the Hornady. All right, this ought to be fun. I've grabbed some 223 and some 55 grain Bob's Full Metal Jacket boat tail with cantilever bullets, and these have got a normal heavy crimp. This is a crimp I might actually use. You can see the clear marking around there, so that's pretty heavy, no doubt about it, but still sensible, kind of the heaviest side of sensible. I've also loaded 3 others with an absolutely absurd amount of crimp. I'm using a Leaf Factory crimp die. I went full-blown press, cam over, all the force I could get with a 223 Leaf Factory crimp die. The bullets are certainly distorted, totally jacked up. I'll be pretty surprised if the old Camlock bullet puller just grabs a hold of these and pulls them out. I've installed my 22 caliber collet, and we're ready to rock. Now here's one frustration I've run into. Our first step, we raise our bullet up to the collet, right? And then we screw this down with the cam down. We screw it down until it touches the bullet. Well, if you're using a turret press or some press that, you know, like mine has a primer tube, I've got other dies in there, it's really difficult and a pain in the butt to do this. Yep, I bumped my ram here. All right, I finally feel us touching the bullet. Double check my ram height, make sure I'm not pinching down on brass. And I am. I'm actually pinched down on the brass. So I need to loosen this up. Drop my ram just a touch. There we go. That's just about perfect. So then I bring up the cam, go a quarter turn, and tighten down the lock ring. So with 308, we needed a little bit less than a quarter turn, but since this is a totally different collet and everything, we'll just go with what the instructions suggest at first. Okay, height looks good. That one I am able to pull it over almost all the way, so a quarter turn seems to be right. So let's see if we can, oh yeah. That was no big deal. Have a quick look at the bullet. Right above, you know, the cantilever there, right above the case mouth is where I grabbed it. So there are a few little marks. But that would be a shootable bullet, no doubt about it. Let's run these other two easy ones through. Once you start going through a couple, you can get a, or at least I did with the 308, you get a better feel for just how much of the pressure you really need to put on the bullet, right? The harder you crank this, the more likely you are to distort the bullet. But if you don't get it far enough, you see that problem like we saw a few minutes ago. Yeah, these don't seem to be taking much force at all. So this guy with lighter pressure is in a little bit better shape than that first one I showed you. So this is, yeah, that's a perfectly fine bullet right there. That guy's in good shape. All right, now we move over to the ridiculous crimp. These I've really got to be careful not to pinch brass instead of bullet. By God, came right out. There we are. This bullet's hilarious. Crimped it so hard that, yeah, huge ring around that bullet. So the bullet's destroyed just from my original crimp, but this pulled it out no problem. The case is probably okay. I mean, it looks kind of similar if you've ever pulled down or picked up military brass that had a heavy crimp. That's pretty similar to what they look like after being fired or pulled. It's boogered up just a touch, but for the most part, it's okay. Yeah, all three came out, no problem whatsoever. Didn't even feel any additional force really that was necessary. Sweet. So it's pretty amazing what happens when you carefully read the instructions. So I think my previous issues were just down to plain old user error. So I'll figure out how to fold that later. I will be much more likely to pull out the old Hornady Camlock bullet puller from now on. Now that I got a much better feel for how it works when it's operating the way it's supposed to. So I think that pretty much covers it. Links down in the description for all of this crap. If you'd like to help support the channel, check me out at patreon.com/reloading. I will see you guys again tomorrow. I'm not sure what's coming. Couple things up in the air right now. I'm not sure which one is going to land first, but I will see you tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern.